Okay, so we have a great analysis tool called the Goal Seek, and it allows us to figure out certain things by giving it a target. I'll just say that much. So I want to show you three different examples to use this Goal Seek tool in, and I think you'll find it to be pretty amazing. So what we have here is a amortization schedule that figures out what your principal and interest payments would be, along with some other things on, I don't know, maybe a loan that you would take out. And what it's set for right now is we've got about $50,000 we want to borrow. Interest rate is 7%, and we want to do it for 5 years. Okay? So just given that, it knows to give us then the scheduled payment, the principal and interest payment of $990. Okay, and it figures that's going to be over 60 months and all that. Well, that's great. So if I were to go back in there and let's say change this from 50 to 35,000, then that automatically updates out to here. Okay, so here's our dilemma. We're about ready to go out and shop for a new car, and we're not sure exactly what our limit would be as far as the price of the car, but we do know for a fact that we can't afford any more than, let's say, a $400 payment every month. Okay, now in order for you to figure out that number there to be 400, you'd have to come back into here and start plugging away different numbers to get to that $400 figure. All right, it wouldn't take you that long, but it's still a process. Well, here's what you can do instead. We can use Goal Seek to tell it that we want the final result here to be $400, and we want it to figure that out by changing this amount over here. So it needs to play around with this number in order to get to this. So we know for a fact that that if we take out a loan for the car, we're going to get a 7%. Let's just say that's what we get at our bank. Okay, 7%, and it's a 5-year loan. Okay, so given that fact, what does this need to be in order to make this 400, given the fact that you're taking out a certain interest rate and number of year loan? Okay, all right, so how do we do this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the data tab, all right, and we're going to go over here to the what if analysis, and we're going to click on to Goal Seek. All right, and it comes up. It just happened to be on this cell here. So what it's asking is, we want to set cell what? I want to set this cell, all right, to a value of $400. And we're going to do that by messing around by changing cell, this one right here. That's it. We go ahead and hit OK. There it goes. So it found a solution. Basically, we can afford, under these circumstances, a $20,000 automobile. Now, on the flip side, let's just say I can afford a $650 payment. That is my tops. All right, $650 payment. How much can I borrow? So that'd be another way of looking at it, right? Well, we would go back into the what if analysis. Click on the Goal Seek, and our target now for the same cell is now going to be $650, all right? And we wanted to change this amount to figure that out. So we go ahead and hit OK, and it turns out then we can afford almost a $33,000 car. Not bad. All right, so let's look at another angle. Let's say that we have already purchased a little shack in Maui for $750,000. Okay, that's the That's the total mortgage amount on the little hut on the beach. All right. All right. Now, let's just say your interest rate is 4.5%, and you took out a 30-year loan. Okay. So these are the payments that you're going to be making right here. Okay. So that's what you're going to be paying every month for the next 30 years. And you're going to be paying that much in interest. All right. Now, here's our thought. We would like to figure out how much extra we need to contribute to the mortgage payment, or extra dollars that we contribute every month to the mortgage payment, principal interest payment. How much extra do we have to do in order to get our number of months down to, let's say, 180? Or we can do it another way too. We can go over here. We can look at this as well. But let's just say that we want to figure out how much extra we got to pay. So by the time 15 years is up, in other words, 15 years into the loan, by that time we can almost figure that we'll have no more principal to, pay our to make payments on, and therefore we've already paid off the loan. So how much do we have to put in every month in order to get it to where we can pay this off in half the time? Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll go back into our what if analysis, go back to goal seek. All right. Now, what cell do we want to do now? We want to set this cell here. Okay, it could be either one, doesn't matter. Set that cell to being what? A value of 180, all right? That'd be half the time, right? By changing this cell here, okay? We'll hit OK on that. And there we go. So about $2,000 extra over and above this amount here every month. And if you did that for 15 years, by that time, your principal will have been paid off. That's technically what happens. All right? That's pretty cool. We'll do one more time with this. Let's say that we'll go back in there and we'll say, all right, I want this number, right, to be, let's say I want to set that for 90 months, okay, basically, by changing this guy here. And we hit OK. And there we go. So if you are capable of pretty much paying $10,000 a month on your mortgage, you'll have that thing paid off in 90 months. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know if it's feasible, but it's pretty good. All right, so let's hit OK on that. So I'm going to go and take a look at another one here. All right, another example for using this one on. Now, this is a sales situation where we're projecting what we're hoping to sell next year. And our goal is to have a profit of $985,000. Now, we've already figured out that we could probably sell about this much at this kind of a profit in order to get that. All right, a percentage profit to get this projected profit. We got them all in there. The only one that we don't have is kite boards, and we have to figure out what does the amount in here have to be at 72% profit in order to get whatever projected profit number here. What does that need to be in order to get this number that we currently have for the other items up to a total of $985,000, right? Kind of an interesting aspect here. So how do we do that? Well, we'll go back into what if analysis. We'll go to our goal seek, all right? And in essence, we're going to say what? Well, we want ultimately this cell right here, which is the calculations adding up what we've got here, right? So we want that number there to end up being the value of 985,000. So we type in 985,000, and by changing what cell? All right, well, by putting in something into here, right? So we have to constantly be putting numbers into here at 72% to come up with that perfect number that will end up transforming this into 985,000, right? So we hit OK, and there we go. Hit our OK on that. So in essence, what we need to do is the 242, or whatever it was there, 242,000, right? To come up with that. So there it is. That's a pretty quick calculation there, or amount of time it took to do that. And let's look at the last one here now. This is a little worksheet that involves the pi function, and it allows us to figure out area, surface area. A lot of people are surprised to find out that a 8-inch pizza versus a 16-inch pizza, it's not just double the size, it's actually quadruple the size, believe it or not. Very, very interesting calculation. So all done with that. Now, what I want to show you is using the goal seek, how big of a pizza, diameter-wise, do we need to have in order to have, and let's say we'll do it on this one here, in order to have, let's say, 800 inches of pizza, 800 square inches of pizza, what does the diameter of the pizza need to be? All right. Now we could go in there and we could plug around again with the number there, but more quickly we can just go into the what if, go to our goal seek, all right, and tell it that we want to set what? We want to set this cell to being 800, okay, by changing the diameter, right? We hit OK on that, and there we go. So we need to have a 32-inch pizza, round pizza, for 800 square inches of pizza. That's pretty wild. Now, we can also figure out surface area of not too circular objects such as lakes here, okay? So it turns out that this is the circumference of each of the lakes. That means walking around the lake and measuring how many miles there are. So if you were to go and walk around Lake Michigan all the way around, 360, it's 529 miles. It's unbelievable. Now, if we know what the miles are, then the diameter is figured out with this calculation here. And when we figure out the diameter, then we can also figure out the radius. And if we've got the radius, then we can use the pi calculation to determine how many square miles, surface area there is to Lake Michigan and all the other ones here. So here's a scenario. Let's say that somebody tells us that there is a lake or whatever that we can jog around, all right, and it's 50,000 square miles. I mean, that's huge. I mean, I don't think there's anything that big. But let's just say somebody says there's a 50,000 square mile lake out there that you can hike or jog or whatever you want to do, ride your bike around the entire lake. What is that circumference? In other words, how many miles around is the lake, if, as far as circumference go, if the square miles are, let's say, 50,000, right? Again, you can sit there and play around with the circumference until you got this thing up to 50,000, but the other way to do it would be to go over into your what if analysis, go to your goal seek, and say that, okay, I want that number to end up being 50,000. So what would be the circumference? All right, well, we're going to have it change this, all right? So that's it. We hit OK, and there it is. So you would have an area, a water mass of 793 miles that you could run around. That would be, and that would be what the 50,000 square mile surface area would be. Pretty neat. All right, so hopefully, you know, some of these examples I've shown you, you can maybe think about applying to your situation, where maybe you could use that goal seek to very quickly come up with that one magic number. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Take care.